The sick individual finds himself at home with all other similarly sick individuals. The whole culture is geared to this kind of pathology. The result is that the average individual does not experience the separateness and isolation the fully schizophrenic person feels. He feels at ease amongst those who suffer from the same deformation. In fact, it is the fully sane person who feels isolated in the insane society. And he may suffer so much from the incapacity to communicate that it is he who may become psychotic. And haven't we all experienced that? From the time we were born, I assume everyone in this room has experienced that. And I would also say this, that if you are sane enough to see the insanity, that's a damn good sign, because it means you're not insane. So as bad as it is to feel bad about the things that are happening, look at the bright side. You can see it. It's they live. The mind also must be held, and to accomplish this, fear is the accepted weapon. The common man must fear life, fear death, fear God, fear the devil, and fear most his overlords, the keepers of his destiny. It's the master-slave, and it begins from the moment that you enter school. The teacher is a slave of somebody else. He's going to treat you like a slave, the false teacher. And of course, not having any security within, that we're a jellyfish within, we're a miasma of mess, then again, in comes the boss, in comes Big Daddy. And they will restore order. Like it says right there. Novus ordo seclorum. There will be an order by design. In fact, you know something, if you're really symbolically literate, whenever this term war on terror, which I might add is a psychological term, it's not saying terrorism, which is political, or terrorists. It says war on terror. Now, terror is a psychological term. It's an inner state. Cold War, nuclear war, atomic war. Think about what those words really mean. They've got very little to do with external things. Atomic war, genetic war, Cold War, now war on terror. And you know how the right brain hears it? It's not war on terror, but war on terra. T-E-R-R-A. War on earth. Because it is a war on earth. And it's old. It's been in the making a long time. But the experts, the scientists know that when you're faced with a life-threatening situation, the reptilian hindbrain, the most primitive part of the human brain, switches off all activity, except that which keeps us alive. It sends the subconscious message, don't move, don't breathe, don't blink, or you'll be seen and attacked. You see? And that's what we do. We switch off. We're in a traumatized situation. Now, of course, we might make the mistake of looking to our little domestic syndromes for the reason for this massive stress. And we often don't really find the answer there. We may do even some cleansing and local homework, and yet it's like normal to be stressed. We don't realize we're like in a culture of stress, like a petri dish. As we said, R.D. Lang said that your insanity, your pathological situation, your stress or whatever, hypertension, this is a perfectly natural adjustment to a totally unnatural and negative environment. So you can keep on researching your little domestic thing and your little relationship problems. Guess what? That may account for a very small fraction of the real reason why you're in the state that you're in, as a matter of fact. So some people finally start to realize or get a grip on this, what I'm talking about. And you might phrase it like some people say, have I been sold a lie? Becomes a mantra. Because I think something's up here. I don't like what I see. I'm not going to wear a tie-dye and become a hippie, but I'm sure that something's off here. Have I been sold a lie? But the smarter person, the one who's really going to affect change in this world, says the same thing but in a different way. He says, have I bought a lie? Because somebody can sell you something, but you don't have to buy it. When you understand that you've bought into it, that these people have no power at all, they do have control, but you have the power. You give it away. Then you affect change. One is a road to nowhere, and the other one is a road to salvation. So what is the great change? The Pluto's approach and the countdown to 2012. What's going to happen? Can we get maybe even a broad theme, a broad pastiche of what that might be? Well, man runs away from his own shadow self and has a sadistic relationship with himself and with his darker emotions, quote unquote. But, like biological white blood cells, ladies and gentlemen, these darker emotions exist to signal that something is wrong within the body politic. and to let us know that we are under attack, either from ourselves or from some other external source. But where are our altars to these dark guardians? You see, your anger, your stress, your hypertension, your fear, right? All of that. These are aspects of ourselves. We've been conditioned to believe and observe them negatively. So we're in inner conflict. Because now you've got a lower part of yourself and a higher part of yourself. You're inwardly divided. Then how are you going to fix external division? Pluto will bring in it will call for a new relationship with what are laughingly called our darker aspects of ourself. They're only darker because one part of us is so super lit that everything else of our being is cast into darkness. The shadows we fear are cast by our own hand, our own minds. Now, you see, the problem is, though, that it's like, imagine your mind is like the court of the king. You don't like it when these hideous, ragged, evil-smelling, foul-looking, wrinkled old guardians come in to tell the story of what they've seen on their travels. No, we want Don Juan and white horses and perfumery and wonderful tales of high adventure. So when these strange people come into our court and try to tell us in their croaking voices an amazing story of where they've been and what they've seen, we go, get away, anger, get away, violence, get away, all of that. And we're told not to listen to these beings. So we have an inner conflict at hand. But these are aspects of ourselves that have an amazing story to tell us about the world and about reality. We better start listening to what these guardians are saying. So we must come into a new kind of relationship with the so-called dark guardians, that part of ourselves that we do not heed. And we've been taught to censor ourselves to a pathological degree and are suffering immensely as a result. You can't live in a one-season world. You can try, but sooner or later the winter will come. And it will come too hard and then you'll be perished because you're not acclimatized to it. But this does not mean, I'm not saying that now we become all perverse and criminal. It merely means that we develop our ego maturity to heed those voices that tell us what violates our inner body politic. Your white blood cells, you couldn't live without them. When a disease or something attacks your system, they come to your help. Well, these dark guardians, especially anger, has a blue flame of anger. Watch the movie Hellboy, because that movie will teach you something about the blue flame of anger. It's a defense mechanism. Yes, if you don't integrate it, it'll become pathological and you'll find its muddy boot prints around and it won't be very pleasant. You'll be thinking, what's that smell? And look at all this mess. Yeah, because you haven't welcomed them in and cleaned them off and listened to what he has had to say under all that dust. But they're knocking to get in, going, the house is burning. Open up, let me tell you about it. You go, oh, get away, you. I call the police, get out. The state that is achieved when we cease being sadistic and punitive with ourselves, when we desist seeking the approval of others, when we free ourselves and others from the tyranny of our dependency. There are also factors involved here in the listening to these incredible parts of us. I'll just say, as controversial as it is, and the psychologists actually should have taught you this a long time ago. And the New Age movement, that's defunct in my opinion as well. Because they have not said what I'm going to say now. And that is, you can get out of your mind any idea that anger and hate and violence have ever caused any problems on this earth. Except when they, as I said, become pathological. But actually, we better wake up and realize that not hate, not anger, not violence has ever caused any of the problems that are on this earth at all. And anyone who believes that has got a very, very limited understanding of the world that they're living in. The problems are caused in this world, ladies and gentlemen, not by those things, but by false love.